Welcome to Biohacker's podcast. My name is Teemu Arina. I'm also the curator of Biohacker Summit that happens 15 and 16 of October this year in Amsterdam. And you're all most welcome. And one of the exhibitors and speaker also in the event is Airofit. They have created this amazing device for breath training. And there's so much more about this, not just about training. It's also part of living well, recovering, improving sleep, like all these other things that we are also going to dive deeper in this conversation, in addition to exercise physiology. So my guest today is Mike Bennett. He has a background in exercise physiology and anatomy. I guess he's also a former rugby player. And so the company Airofit is based in Denmark, and I've been a big fan of different kind of breathing related things, anything from breathwork, Wim Hof style breathing techniques, different meditation breathing techniques as well. And also I've used different devices over the years, from altitude masks to power lung and so on, to restrict breathing specifically during exercise. And I found it very useful, and it improves definitely the results, and it also kind of, in terms of efficiency, you get more bang for the buck, so to say, when you do stuff like this. So it's a bit harder, but you basically develop faster. But what I really like about Airofit is the fact that it is also connected to my phone, and we will be also showing a little demo of the application itself, because it can measure also your breath training. And that's very exciting, because then you know when you're using it if you're improving or not, and you can compare how your progress has been going on from the onset. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me and letting me speak about our wonderful product here from Denmark.
Awesome. So you have a background in exercise physiology and anatomy, and you've been a serious professional athlete as well. So what is your experience, and what led you to recognizing the importance of breath?
So I found breathwork on my personal journey when I was actually injured from rugby, and found I couldn't have that daily routine of training, and I wanted something from it. And breathwork actually really helped me in the psychological comeback. So I had that routine and was training my body without actually moving. And this really developed my love of breathwork. So as you mentioned, through like Wim Hof and other so-called gurus around the area. And this kind of just led me on a personal journey. And then when I moved to Denmark, I found an amazing startup company that kind of tied in my love of sports science and breathwork to give the world better breathing, which has led me to here, and really enjoy working with people such as yourself, athletes, and people generally wanting to get a better life through breathwork.
Wonderful. All right. So like, I guess like former athletes, like they have to reinvent themselves, and many of them become coaches, or they kind of still stay in the field. So you have turned your professional career into developing all the techniques and tools for athletes to perform better. But what I really like about Airofit is that it's also for general well-being and wellness and performance. I use different tools when I work, for example. I use devices that improve oxygen intake, like to dilate my nasal cavity and all that. We have a podcast recording with Lee Evin on that. He's a breathwork master. He's also going to be in Amsterdam guiding some really interesting sessions. So can you like briefly outline the importance of breath training in general?
Yeah, so from a very physiological response, oxygen is kind of the building block or fuel of every single cell in your body, and carbon dioxide is always the byproduct. So that's always what's pushed out. So to become more efficient at bringing in the oxygen as well as pushing out the carbon dioxide, you're not only going to become more efficient, but you're going to have a generally healthier life. And that's what I love about the Airofit is our ability to train both the inspiration and expiratory muscle training, which is very unique to our device, and then connect it to an app so you can actually see over time how this is progressing. Kind of sets us apart and allows you to track your breath work like never before.
Oh, that's amazing. So, where does this idea come from to build this device? Like, was that like a need on the market that you saw?
So it has a very interesting backstory, which I love to tell people. So going back to 2015, our CEO and founder, Christian, who will be speaking at the summer actually in Amsterdam, he found this device through Amble, which is a Danish medtech company. And they had this really interesting, innovative device which allowed you to train your respiratory muscles, but they didn't know how to apply it. And Christian, being a classically trained singer of all things, got a hold of this device and started using it. And then his sons were going to the Nordic Swimming Championships and he convinced them to use it and they came home with 7 gold medals. And Christian found this was amazing. A light bulb went off and he just started investing all his money in it. So a product he truly believed in. But the limiting factor was he had to be on site while testing. So he had to be there to use the device with everyone. So through years of development, he developed into the product that we know and love today, just a small handheld device connecting to your smartphone, which has actually allowed you to become your own breathwork master. So it's incorporating breathwork from all over the world. I like to say it's bringing centuries of breathwork into the modern day, into the 21st century, where apps are the thing of the future.
Well, this backstory on the singing actually explains your app as well, because when I signed up and I basically choose that I'm interested in improved general well-being, it listed immune strength, recovery, relaxation, sleep, stress, and then singing. And I was like, that's quite interesting. So maybe that's kind of what it is all about. But I can imagine if you are using any kind of blow instrument like a trumpet or something, it's really demanding on the respiratory system to be able to do that for long periods of time.
For sure. And then this is kind of just like a gym in your pocket that focuses on your respiratory muscles, so your diaphragm, your internal, external, intercostal muscles, and allows you to do everything better, because at the end of the day, everyone breathes, but everyone can become more efficient at breathing. So if you're a runner, you squat to be more efficient. If you sing, if you breathe, or you swim, you can use Airofit to become more efficient within that area as well. So it's lots of things wrapped into one.
Yeah. The whole idea of using breath in exercise, you do list quite a lot of different sports, anything from basketball to CrossFit to football, rugby, ice hockey, swimming, running, tennis, triathlon, speed skating, extreme endurance, all these things. I remember reading about breath while you're running, and learning the right technique in context of your steps that you're taking can make a big difference to the end result. So to be consciously in charge of your breathing and to be able to breathe on a consistent manner, and how that whole respiratory process links to the functioning of the heart and blood flow and delivery of oxygen and nutrients to the tissues and cells is kind of key. And it's also actually partly a safety aspect. So learning to breathe in the right phase when you're doing something like a marathon is extremely important to reduce risk of cardiac events as well. So I guess that's one thing. The other thing is conservation of energy. I would assume when I was practicing martial arts, it was a big part of every move that you're doing when you breathe in, when you breathe out. Everyone who has done yoga knows the importance of breath when combined with the movement. So is there anything you can maybe discuss a little bit further from that?
Yeah, so the marathon actually leads into quite a interesting point, because a lot of people, we can just start from a very anatomical position. So a lot of people breathe in their upper chest cavity, And what this causes is shoulder pain. So they're raising the shoulders up like this while they're breathing. And this can cause a lot of discomfort and stuff. So understanding the biomechanics of breathing will actually allow you to become more relaxed. And then from a physiological perspective, if you are breathing wrong and pulling that carbon dioxide, so you're breathing in and then not pushing out as much, or you're hyperventilating, you're going to build up the carbon dioxide, you're going to hit that wall faster, you're going to increase the lactic acid. But then you're going to go into stress state. So you may have heard of the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. And what the trouble with this while you're running is your hormones also go out of alignment. So you have an increase in cortisone and other stress hormones, which can kind of make you make stupid decisions. So you might think, I can go a wee bit faster now. You get overexcited. And then halfway through a marathon, your kind of just body gives out. So understanding how to clear that carbon dioxide, be more efficient with the breathing muscles, will allow you to become a more efficient runner.
Right. How about the lung capacity aspect of it? I understood from Wim Hof technique that by practicing deep breathing, you can actually, and also the fact that you're using your full lung capacity and not just shallow breathing, which is what people do at the workplace and things. And that's linked to the sympathetic nervous system activation also. So to learn to use the belly, the like diaphragm like in an optimal manner is something we don't learn in school. So we kind of have to learn to use our like full capacity, and this like standard oxygen intake and lung capacity can actually improve if you're really like deploying the whole organ.
Yeah, for sure. And it's very interesting you brought up school, because we all grow up as little kids screaming. And when we scream, we actually use our full diaphragm and really activate our lungs. Then we go to school and we're actually told to be quiet and take a deep breath. And this is kind of counterintuitive because it is teaching us bad breathing habits. So then from when we're 5 or whenever we go to school, we're then forced to breathe a certain way, which is quite detrimental to our health. So you brought up deeper breathing, and not only for athletic performance, this is super important because like you open the lung tissue, there's more room for diffusion across that membrane into the blood to get the oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. But it's also very well linked to longevity of life. So if we're lowering our respiratory rate and then increasing the amount of oxygen and carbon dioxide with every breath, there have been numerous studies that show this is going to lead to a longer, healthier life. So those who practice breathwork often, they're said to be healthier people, and it's truly that yogic principle of the breath of life.
That's right. That's right. Prana Yama is one of the techniques that I use. So that's the life force. Now, many biohackers have the Oura ring, and they use that to track their sleep. And one thing that you can use this device for is to understand your respiratory rate at night, and it's linked to the heart rate as well. So the lower the breaths per minute, usually also the lower the heart rate on average, and actually like the average heart rate, resting heart rate, if you can bring that down over time and keep it down, it's also an indication of longevity. When you're sick or you're not in a good shape, you have sleep apnea, whatever, like there can be disturbances of this, and you might see changes in your sleep data. And the respiratory rate, breaths per minute, I remember Lee Evans said that you don't even need that much of exercise in terms of breathing. And especially he highlighted nasal breathing, that we don't use our noses, that there are so many mouth breathers who just breathe through the mouth. So like one way to improve this can be mouth taping at night as well. So how do you see this? Like when you're running, for example, or doing some really strong cardio, like I at least like feel I need to breathe through the mouth. So what would you say about that type of practice? I guess that's linked to immunity and many other things, like when you start doing it.
Yeah, and I'm super glad you brought up mouth breathing versus nasal breathing because it's a question we get asked a lot as we're predominantly a mouth breathing device. And the reason for this is since we breathe through our bigger pipe, we can then overload the muscles a bit more. So we recommend nasal breathing as it is a healthier option with the nitric oxide in the blood and the filtration of the blood, the air, sorry. So we do promote nasal breathing, but we actually train you to be more efficient in this. And one really cool thing I found with Airofit is since I started training with it, I've become super comfortable with running with my mouth closed. I actually ran a 5K with my mouth taped a few weeks ago. And if you asked me to do this a year ago before I started training with Airofit, I would have either ripped it off or passed out on the treadmill. So it's allowed me to become more efficient at nasal breathing, which has then increased my athletic performance through better breathing principles. So I'm actually very interested to talk to Lee about his stand on this because I know he likes Airofit and how he incorporates it into his nasal breathing work as well.
Right. Can you use this device like so that you breathe in through the nose and you breathe out through the mouth?
It is something we're currently exploring. So for me, when we're focusing on the expiratory muscle training, it's something I'd like to incorporate. So you're breathing in that filtrated air and you're getting the benefits of that, but then you're really focusing on the exhalation strength. But as of right now, we don't recommend it because we believe 5 to 10 minutes a day, which you use the device for, you are not going to rewire yourself to start to think, I need to breathe through my mouth now.
Right. Yeah. So you might bring up like a software update because you are software and hardware company and you can do it. So when it comes to the sessions that people would do, so you can do like 2 minutes. So and that can have an effect on your full lung capacity and oxygen intake and also improve nasal breathing. So how long should one use like 2 minutes per day over time to see like some improvements in the statistics that your device is giving out?
Well, we actually had a very interesting study come out of the Metropolitan University of Manchester a few weeks ago using Airofit as an interventive measure for performance outcome. So there was 20 people in the study and they used their CrossFit training within our app for on average 5 minutes a day for a 6-week period. And the super cool thing was the thickness of the diaphragm muscle itself increased on average by 30%. Inspiratory and expiratory pressures went up by on average 30% as well. So it was 40 with the inspiratory, 20 with the expiratory. But the big number for me was the 7% increase in performance. So at the same VO2 max, they had a 7% increase in performance, which led to the same fuel going in led to a 7% increase in performance. And this was just from 5 minutes a day. But the wonderful thing about our app is it actually maps out your training for you. So you do the daily lung test, which we're going to see shortly when you demonstrate. And then based on your metrics, so your age, height, weight, and your training goal, it's going to customize a training program for you. So it takes all the thinking out of your breath work. So, and the great thing, you can also do it whenever you see fit. So I like to do mine before work. It kind of wakes me up to go to work. But my girlfriend, for example, does it before bed to help her sleep better. So 2 completely different aspects, but you get great results either way.
Right. So when I got this device, I've been basically incorporating different things into stacks. So I have so many different things that I'm doing. So I try to like combine things. And this is great for exercise, but another area where it actually works pretty well is to use the infrared sauna session. So when you go to sauna and infrared full spectrum, maybe combined with red light, it's already increasing nitric oxide production, increases dilation of the blood vessels and micro veins. So that's a great place to do it. I used to do like deep breathing as well there, meditation techniques. But Airofit is a great thing because you anyway gonna sit in the sauna for 20 to 30 minutes minimum. So it's one of those things that you can combine very easily there. although you only need a couple of minutes, I also like to feel like there's like a little bit of mm, a little bit of challenge in it as well. So the heat is a pretty interesting component of
For
biohacking.
sure. And with the dilation of the venous and arterial things, that's actually just going to aid in the benefit of Airofit and the deeper breathing. You're already going to have that dilation. You're going to have that effusion happening already. So I think that's an amazing coupling. One other thing that I see a lot of people doing is using it with Sensate. So the device that allows you to activate your vagal nerve and come down, go to sleep a lot easier. So that's another aspect that a lot of people use. So coupling is an easy way to get Airofit into your daily life, especially from a biohacking perspective, where you are looking for a few 5 to 10 minute increments throughout your day to get the best out of your life.
I would imagine it also works pretty well with Sensate, which is a relaxation device that kind of activates with ultrasound the chest cavity as well. So that might be a pretty cool combo as well, now that I think about it. All right. So if we like touch base with the metrics, like what is the typical lung capacity people have? Like what kind of statistics you have, like liters that you can like?
So this is super individualized, but what we have is a graph with all of the data that we have collected over the full spectrum of our 3 years on the market. And we found that 95% of people increase their lung capacity. Of course, this is individualized of how active you are, how much of your capacity you are actually using on a daily basis. But the thing I like the most is the longevity. So if you can get your starting point higher, we all kind of get a bit less as we age due to the compliance of the lung tissue and just general aging. If you start at a high point in your 20s, 30s, you're going to prolong that degeneration, which actually shallows the curve, which is huge. But you're never too old to start this training either. So you may not be able to get back to where you were in your 20s, but when you're 70, you can definitely increase it, which is going to benefit you hugely. So the lung capacity is the one that I find the most interesting because of the increases. But then, of course, the expiratory and inspiratory pressures do vary quite a lot as well from person to person.
So you mean basically like sucking in or sucking out the breath, like there can be a difference in strength?
Yeah, exactly. And
muscles?
Yeah, I can use myself as a very good example of this because I'm quite a big, strong guy. I pride myself on going to the gym and stuff. And the first time I used my Airofit, so about 9 months ago, when I sucked in, my inspiratory pressure was around 75, which that's fairly okay, but I was checking everyone else in the office and I was very low. But my expiratory was very, very strong. So the thing with the app is it kind of manipulated my weakness and turned it into one of my strengths. So now my inspiratory pressure is a lot stronger than my expiratory pressure. And that just came down to Airofit understanding where I was lagging and how to increase it. And then a side note of that is just my lung capacity just increased through that extra strength of my breathing muscles and pulling the lung tissue open.
Right. So, okay. So you would get like most benefit, I guess, when you are aging by using a device like this. I could imagine people also who are sedentary, they would get a lot of benefit of using something like this. If you're injured or like you have mobility issues or whatever, you can't get your breathing rate high or you don't have like this training. If you're even retired, a veteran, whatever, like these people would get a benefit of this type of training that you could do just at home, lying down.
Yeah, for sure. And it's one of those things as any other training modality, so running or lifting weights. If you are detrained or undertrained, you're going to get results very fast. It's the same with respiratory muscle training. If you begin at a really undertrained area, you're going to see increases very fast, which for me is kind of a very cool aspect because it can motivate you in other aspects of your life to start training again or start getting off the couch, as you mentioned. People who can't get off the couch, they start training 5 minutes a day, and then they get that confidence to be able to train the rest of their body.
Have you seen any like differences between people, let's say, who are smokers or who quit smoking? Like, do you see results in using a device like this?
Yeah, I've seen a few ex-smokers. So I haven't actually personally dealt with any smokers, but ex-smokers, they come back quite slowly, but there's surely an increase there. So we try and monitor them quite accordingly to their kind of baseline, because if they come in too heavy with their training, they can cause damage, which is why following your program on the app is actually the smartest thing to do. So more is not, less is definitely more in this case, but we have seen a lot of increase. And something very nice that my mum actually said to me, so she's an ex-smoker, and when she stopped smoking, she was the classic grumpy lady who wasn't seeing results. But using Airofit actually gave her increments to see she was improving and actually turning her life around. So psychologically being able to see data points, I'm increasing more and more every day, gave her that motivation to stay away from smoking. I hope my mum doesn't mind me saying that story, but I thought it was a very good.
Oh, that's a really good, that's a motivating story for sure for anyone who is quitting and looking for any kind of activity that would reward them for like not doing it. And this is one of those things in your toolbox to help out for sure. Yeah, interesting. So you actually mentioned this kind of a safety angle here. So I mean, I could just breathe through a power lung or, breathe through a straw or something. So what you're saying is that this app also incorporates progression and some safety aspects based on your average so that you don't go crazy with it.
For sure. And then with the device itself having 6 inspiratory and 6 expiratory settings, the app will then tell you what settings to use. So you're not running that risk of overtraining. So there's that safety net as well. And yeah. And then with the measuring as well, it allows you to use progressive overload with any other type of training. So we like to say we use FIT principles, which is frequency, intensity, time, and type of training. So we incorporate that to give you a safety net.
Right. Okay. So before we show the app, is there something else that you want to bring up in terms of breathing and breathing rate and like physiology side of things?
Yeah, so for me, one thing I really want to bring up is breathing is for everyone. Breathwork will benefit you no matter what you do, whether it's a psychological benefit or a physiological benefit, but everyone can benefit from it. And we like to make it accessible. So we're not very discriminatory in what type of breathing you're doing. So we do encourage controlled hyperventilation right down to circle breathing. And we believe we're going to find the right type of breathwork for you to improve your life. So that's a very strong message that we have here at Airofit, is we are bringing better breathing to the world.
So is there like in the app itself, like different type of protocols, like breathing patterns and all that, like depending on what your goal is?
For sure. We have 17 unique breathing patterns that have been put together by a lot of breathing experts from around the world. And then your daily training will be a mixture of these that are going to benefit you the best.
Right. That sounds
Do you have any personal favorites from within the app?
No, I would be happy to jump in and have you guide like a deep dive in its functionality for our audience.
Yeah, for sure. You can pull up the app on your screen, right?
Yeah, I will.
Amazing.
Let's get this device. There we go. So I got the device here.
Yes.
And let's have a quick review on it.
Yeah. So one really nice thing about our device is the 3 aspects of it. So there's the mouthpiece, which your hands are just currently on. There's 2 different ones. The one with the bite block is a bit nicer to use, and then one without the bite block. These are interchangeable and washable. And then the passive unit itself is the red bit with the dials. And then we have the E unit, which is the brain of the operation, which is where it says Airofit, that black bit with the light. This requires charging. So when you take this off, you can then wash the rest of your device. Yeah, so
basically I can pull this
yeah,
off.
perfect. So that is the brains of the operation. There's a sensor unit in there which actually measures the pressure you're blowing out, uses a lot of calculations to let you know how much you're actually breathing.
Right. So and I can charge this device like that as well. So so what you're saying, all the major sensors are on this.
Yes. Right. And then the rest is what we call the active unit, the passive unit, sorry. And one thing that we haven't actually mentioned to you, but when we come to Amsterdam, Tim, we're actually bringing a whole heap of the passive units. So people can actually come by our booth and try our device.
Nice. So you have these dials here. So what was this for?
So that is going to change the resistance. So A1 is our lowest setting, and then we go right up to F6.
Right. So
this progressive,
and then like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And this progresses harder over time. So we perform the lung test with an F6, which is our hardest setting. Which, are you going to do a lung test shortly for us?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Let's pull out the app.
Perfect. So
here we got the app. I got the device ready. And I think it's connected. Cool. So yeah, there's 4 tabs: home, discover. There's all kinds of things here.
Discover is really nice because you can go through and see what all of our trainings are with a short description, and they fall into different categories. So accessible lung capacity, strength, anaerobic threshold, relaxation and revitalization, instant performance, and the last one being track your progress with a lung test. The lung test is predominantly set up to be tested every single day. However, you can change this in the app to weekly if this suits you better. But I like to use it as a baseline for my daily training so I know if I am progressing. And I can also tell if I am a wee bit overtrained or tired through my other styles of training with the lung test.
Wonderful. So where should we go? There's also the activity and some tips.
Yeah, so tips, this is just going to tell you a wee bit more how to get the most out of the device. Activity, the second on the right. This will allow you to track your progress over time. Right. So you can see your last 30 days here.
Yeah. So on this device, I don't have any results.
Yeah, that's right. Usually we see 3. Yeah, so we'll see 3 graphs here, which will be your inspiratory pressure, expiratory pressure, and lung capacity. But what we will do is we'll jump in the setup. So yeah, so this is our advanced statistics, which will then show you these 3 as well. And you can track this over a month or up to a year. And it will actually compare you against your colleagues. So people in the same age or like height and weight. Yeah. So if you click the home tab, we will test your lungs if you're ready.
Yeah, let's go. So I have a bit constricting shirts. I'm just going to open up the button here.
Yes. And ensure that you're sitting nice and upright to really activate that diaphragm. And I'm not sure if you've just eaten your lunch, but this is also a limiting factor sometimes if you had a big lunch.
I just had a cup of coffee. Is that going to affect the result?
No, that won't too much. It's just if you have a lot of volume in your stomach, it can limit how far your diaphragm can push down into your cavity around there.
Right.
Yes. So shall we test your lungs?
Yeah, let's go. This is actually very interesting because in the summer, I got like, I was in a sandstorm, 40 degrees, like a few weeks in very desert conditions. And I got like kind of a respiratory infection, kind of a bacterial bronchitis kind of thing. It took me a few weeks to recover from it. So I would be very interested to see what's the status right now. So I feel completely healthy otherwise, and I've done some exercise in the last few days, some kettlebell swings. So let's test your lungs.
Yes. And now we're just going to see a short video of one of my colleagues called Nikita, but she's just going to explain how to do the lung test, but we can drag the dial at the bottom along.
Yeah, let's skip this.
Yes. Thank you, Nikita.
Next.
And now we're going to set the device up to F6.
All right, let's do F6. There we go.
Perfect. And click start. This is just going to ensure that you're connected and calibrating. And we're just going to blow out, empty your lungs. And once you're empty, you're going to come in as hard and as long as you can. So breathe in, full power. Fill them lungs up as much as possible. And once it's full, press out as hard as you can. Nice. So I can see here that you have a 5.8 litre lung capacity, which is very good. I'm not sure how tall or heavy you are, but you can see that you're above your predicted. Your inspiratory and expiratory pressures are a wee bit down, which I believe may have come down to you recently being sick and the muscles still not being functioning at 100%. But I would expect these to come up very fast.
Nice. Actually, these are really nice tests just to like quickly check out, like after a condition like this, perhaps if you are ready to train hard. I would assume it's kind of a recovery aspect as well.
And one really interesting thing about that as well is long COVID is a very big issue right now. So the symptoms coming on from COVID being prolonged. And I was listening to a doctor speak about how the biggest risk with that is coming back too fast. So you could use this as an indicator of how you're functioning. So when you return back to baseline or your own individual baseline, then you're ready to progress at 100% again. So it's kind of an interesting way to see what's going on inside your body without actually going to the doctor and getting a scan.
That's very interesting. Yeah, that's definitely something people are struggling with, but it can also be after influenza or other diseases as well. Like you might have impaired lung function for a while, and that might affect your breathing rate.
Yeah, even just a general cold that affects your respiratory tract.
Yeah, let's try a repeat just to see how repeatable these results are, just for fun.
And we come in. And we go. Yeah, so that was 0.4 of a litre off in your volume. Your inspiratory and expiratory pressures were a wee bit higher. This could come down to being a wee bit more warmer as well. One thing we have found is you need to remember to try and be quite consistent with how you're doing this test. Is if you breathe out really slowly for a long period of time, you can have your volume go up slightly higher. So remember to do this in repeated settings. So maybe around the same time of the day, same rough seated position. So if you're hunched over one day and have a nice open chest the next, you may have a significant difference.
Right. Okay, that's interesting. And also basically really going at it at the same rate, you're going to get consistent results.
Exactly. And one thing I tell all of the athletes I work with is this is very individualized. Like it'd be completely unrealistic if you and I had a competition to see who had a bigger lung volume, because I'm quite a bit bigger than you. So it's just not comparable against two people. Focus on your own results and how your own training's going.
That's cool. All right, so now we got the first session in, and now it is suggesting me to do inhale strength. So there's like, okay, so it's basically picking up something from here that would be
so usually the first week of training is kind of the learning curve. So it's our basic programs, inhalation strength, exhalation strength, and then where you manipulate it slightly so you're understanding the device and the kind of onboarding session, so you're understanding how to use your diaphragm and other respiratory muscles to begin with. And then our training session is in a 28-day block, which you can see at the top in the middle of the circle is one of 28 days. After the 28 days, you're going to be able to select a new focus area. And then if you continue with stress again, it's going to be stress, but slightly higher. So within each of the categories, we have beginner, intermediate, and expert. And this is just going to progress as you progress.
Right.
Inhalation strength on the first day may not necessarily be the same as inhalation strength on day one of your second cycle.
Cool. So when I did sign up for this, I basically did choose on this screen, I did choose the general well-being. There's also the sport side of things. So there's all kinds of things here for focus. What I went for was general well-being, and then I did choose the stress. So I noticed like that's the focus it choose. But if, let's say, your focus would be sleep or relaxation, that would like change the focus.
Yeah, exactly. Shall we jump into inhalation strength and just kind of give a brief overview?
Yeah, let's go. So now I will set it up to C and 1.
Yeah, and if you could just give a few in and out breaths really quickly, just so the viewers can kind of hear the difference. Yeah, so it's going to exhale normally, and then we're just going to go above that threshold. So come. Amazing, really nice job.
I feel like Darth Vader now.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people also talk about in one of the Star Wars episodes, they go swimming underwater, and it looks very similar to that. But after you've finished your session, you can see that you were perfect, which meant every one of your breaths exceeded the 41 centimeters per of water, which is the standard pressure setting. The reason you had to go above 41 is because this was relative to your strength. So this was the aspect we talked earlier about not overtraining and having a safety net. 41 was about 55% of your average of your last 2 tests that you just did. So if you remember, you're around 78 to 82. So you're just above that 50% mark, which means you're still going to get physiological responses without causing damage to the muscles itself.
Right. So actually while doing it, it didn't feel that hard, but now like doing it several times, it felt like a good exercise, so I feel actually pretty good right now. So I
Yes.
would imagine this is something really nice to do before going to a meeting, maybe being on a taxi on a way somewhere like the airport.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
so you it's a great way to spend a few minutes, and in addition to getting some training, you feel good about afterwards,
Exactly.
not
And
damaging yourself.
if you look at your next training session, it will be the exhalation strength, which is the exact opposite of this. So it's breathing in nice and controlled and exhaling. And once again, that will be relative to how your testing went for the day.
Cool. And now I can give you some good feedback. I'm gonna give
Yeah.
you 5 stars, man. So this looks really nice. I really like the device. It's small, portable. It doesn't take a lot of space. There's a nice pouch that comes with it where you can store it.
Yes.
This is where I actually have the other type of a mouthpiece
Yeah.
here.
Is there one you prefer over the other?
Um, well, let's see. I actually didn't try to remove this one, but let's see if I just push this other one in and see how that feels. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is the right way.
It's one of those things that's not going to affect your data too much, but it's just down to a personal preference.
Hmm. I think I like this, I guess, more ergonomic one.
Yeah.
I like to bite something.
Yeah. Otherwise, it feels like you're going to spit it across the room.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's nice. But I can see like I might prefer to use the other over another one, like while doing something else.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the great thing. You can choose. You might find 3 of the programs you like the bite block, 3 you don't. So change it up.
Right. So that's amazing. So I really like this device. I'm going to incorporate this into my daily routines, especially in the morning when I do infrared sauna. Sometimes I lie under the red light. So I often combine Sensate when I do red light, so I can combine this with that. And yeah, it's something I'm going to carry with me when I travel to Amsterdam
Yeah,
weeks from now. So when we are at the Biohacker Summit, I'm going to use this on the way and see how I feel. And hopefully, I will be able to show you improved results in a few weeks, so
exactly.
that we can and you all welcome, audience to check my results there as well and hear more from the founder of the company, who is very knowledgeable on this topic, and try the device yourself if it's for you. And if you're interested in getting one of these, you can go to biohackercenter.com. At biohackercenter.com, we are now selling the Airofit at a discount. You can get a 10% discount by using the code Airofit. So just use Airofit at checkout and you get a 10% off of the device. We ship internationally, but you get very fast delivery in Europe. 1 to 2 days, most of the Europe, especially the northern and central part. So check it out. And yeah, Airofit is going to be at the Biohacker Summit in Amsterdam, 15 and 16 of October. If you go to biohackersummit.com, you can find more information about the event. It's about 1,500 people coming there. There is a lot of knowledge and information around biohacking, how to optimize your health, well-being, lifestyle, performance, all these different aspects with biological and technological tools. There's a great exhibition. And the theme this year is actually Hack the Ego. So there is a lot of focus also on psychology, transpersonal psychology, also psychedelics, because we're in Amsterdam and why not? So we're going to discuss those topics as well. And the other thing is that is going to be big there is breathwork. So there's going to be guided sessions, multiple different modalities. We have 2 different stages, the main stage and Dragonfly Sanctuary. That is a great space for more guided in-depth workshops. So there's different breathing, meditation, even dynamic movement, dance type of workshop where breathing is an essential part. And it's being led by some of the best facilitators around the world. And you're also welcome to experience the Airofit device there as well. So if you want to come to Amsterdam, you can also use the discount code Airofit10. You get 10% off across the different ticket types. If you can't come in person, we also have a live stream. So you can just watch the whole package of the video recordings from the 2 full days from the conference at the comfort of your home. And in addition, you get access to, if you want, to the whole library of previous Biohacker Summit recordings. I think it's over 100 hours now of material, which is amazing, and covering all types of different topics from the last 4 or 5 years. We have done over 10 Biohacker Summits now. I think it's 11 now. So you almost welcome to the event or watching it live on our live stream. So I guess thank you, Mike, for your time and guiding me through this breathing session and your knowledge. Is there something that you still want to say about the device, the technology, the product, the company, the breathing in general?
Just that if you do want to try the device and you're hesitant and you are coming to the Biohacking Summit, it's a perfect chance to talk to myself, our founder, a few of my other colleagues, and actually just try the device and see if it is for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And if you are a current Airofit user and at the expo, come say hi. And I really encourage you to take a lot of interest in the breathwork that's going to be going on to actually develop your understanding a lot deeper. Because I feel like we are a good entry point to the surface, but there's so much more to learn.
I agree. Breathing has been one of the big things for me, especially for stress management, and to be able to learn that I have a sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system, and I can actually influence this autonomous nervous system, which is supposedly autonomous, that you can't influence it, but you can influence through your breathing. And to learn to use your lungs to its full capacity is definitely a key component of all of this. And so Amsterdam is going to be great. It's a great place to try these things and many other things, and connect to the right people in your tribe and community, and make new friends. And yeah, it's the best place. And what I really like about this whole product is the quantified self aspect, because biohackers are very data driven. They want proof, they want results, they want to see that what they're doing makes any sense. So this is for sure, at least in my toolbox, the only solution that does both training and measuring things in one package in a very efficient way. It's great design as well. So yeah, congratulations on this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how my results will improve over time in a measured manner, not just intuitively feeling that I might have better lung capacity now, but actually I could have that.
Yes,
as well.
I'm excited to track that as well. So I'll catch up with you in Amsterdam.
Cheers. Thank you, Mike, and have an amazing rest of the day.
You too.
You'll be breathing well.
Cheers, mate.
Ciao.